Chris Masters, the Masterpiece, and you're watching Ric's Corner.
Welcome to Ric's Corner. It's my pleasure today to have a man who's known worldwide from WWE, and he wrestles independently. He's been around for a long time. He's probably got one of the best bodies. He does have one of the best bodies in wrestling. And it's my pleasure to have Chris Masters. Chris, I'm really glad you're here. You know, I've been
Good to be here, finally.
I know you get around and it's hard to pin you down and this and that, but here we are to talk about your life. It's all about you, brother.
My life? My God, really? You want to go into all that?
How old are you now?
How long do we got?
Well, let's see, how old are you?
31.
Are you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Last time I talked to you were 25.
Time flies. You know how it is, man.
I
mean, a decade goes by like that, right?
All right, let's start about something. Okay, in your younger years, when you were in high school and say you went to college or what you were working out, did you have aspirations at that time to go into wrestling?
I decided when I was in high school, there was just like, there was a day I woke up and I really thought to myself, like, you know, what am I going to do with my life? I don't even know what triggered it, and then, you know, I really loved wrestling. Everything was wrestling to me. I just lived, breathed, you know, it was just the biggest mark, quote unquote, that you could ever find. And then, you know, really, it just all fingers pointed to that, because I was thinking, you know, like, well, what would I be passionate? The next question was, what am I passionate about? And again, all fingers pointed to wrestling. So, yeah. Like, I made a decision at that point that I was going to pursue wrestling, and then, you know, started figuring out the necessary steps. You know, like, before I just, like, for example, like, I actually had weight training in the 10th grade. I remember it's period 1 weight training, and like, I would do nothing in that class at all. Yeah. Because I just didn't, you know, at that point I hadn't even thought about my future, and I didn't want to lift weights, and then I didn't get it. So, you know, and then fast forward a year later and I'm in the gym like a madman, you know. So, I mean, that's what kind of triggered me into working out.
Were you a big guy before you started training? I mean, you've always been tall, but I mean... Yeah,
I was always tall, but skinny. My family used to make fun of me and call me the #1 and chicken legs and all this stuff, and so yeah, I was real skinny, man. I had to bulk up quite a bit, you know.
Did you know what you were doing when you were training for weightlifting or body? You were training for bodybuilding.
Well, no. What happened was, so I decided I wanted to go into wrestling, and then I started weight training because that seemed like a logical step, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I also entered a wrestling school. I was about 16 at the time, but I got hurt 2 months in. Me and John Cena actually coincidentally started the same day training, but I was 16 and he was like already in his 20s.
Was UPW?
Yeah, UPW, exactly. Yeah. So I got hurt, and I fractured my ankle, and I had surgery on it, and then I reevaluated the situation, and I realized I'm too young. I'm not in shape, you know what I mean? Because I already saw like the Cena and this other guy Basil that you probably know of. They were really looking at those guys. So I realized, you know, like, back to the drawing board. I just had surgery. Let's heal up. Let's focus a little bit on bodybuilding, you know what I mean? And I took that up as a hobby, and then I always knew I'd come back to wrestling, but you know, I just didn't set a timetable on it. I just knew when the time was right. And
well, bodybuilding is part of wrestling. I mean, bodybuilding is bodybuilding, and you had a great body. I mean, you could have. Did you compete at all?
No,
but you could have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could have, but there was never the desire to do that.
I understand, you know what I mean? But you had a body good enough to win titles.
Yeah.
However, titles are not going to put food on the table.
No.
Right?
No, and, you know, I always used to look at it like this, like, you know, to me, there's no comparison between going out there and competing in what we do in wrestling and sports entertainment, as opposed to comparing abs and thighs with each other. Like, that's
I totally agree with you.
But I did take it up as a hobby, you know, like, I started knowing the guys and following the guys and reading the magazines, and like, I never had a trainer, so everything I got was from the magazines, and so I started knowing who these guys were and stuff. But you know, still always the mindset was pro wrestling. I never had any ambition to do a bodybuilding show. I was just like, I'm doing this as a means to get to this. So like, and a lot of people get that construed. A lot of my early criticism was, oh, he's a bodybuilder turned wrestler, and they're just giving him a push. It was like, no, I was one of you guys. I loved this my whole life. I'm not a second generation wrestler. I'm like a diehard fan from like when I was this tall,
right?
And I just chose, you know, a certain path to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it, because when I was bodybuilding down in Days at Arnold, and that, I mean, I was bodybuilding, but I was wrestling here at the Olympic at night. Yeah. And I thought, if I'm gonna
Grand Olympic,
yeah,
oh, wow.
I'm gonna. We worked like 6 nights a week, TV twice a week, and so I was making whatever they were paying, like 30, 35 a night, which was extra money, and doing commercials. But I thought bodybuilding's not going to pay for anything. I got trophies up there that are broken full of dust. So, like you, my passion was more for wrestling. However, bodybuilding could be the backup because it is what you're presenting on stage.
Yeah.
You know, people are paying to see flesh.
Yeah.
They want to see you in the ring, but you know, when you do a double bicep pose, they go, "Oh my God!" Not everybody can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
very few can do that.
Yeah.
You know, so you used it to your advantage to show your body and become a wrestler. And for the people watching, there's guys that call me all the time. They want to get into wrestling nowadays. It's tough.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially nowadays, I mean, even guys who get signed, I mean, the developmental system alone now has like 70 or 80 guys. And so, like, I've seen a bunch of guys get signed, and just because you're signed by them doesn't mean you're a WWE superstar.
Right.
That means now you go into that developmental league and you're amongst 80 other guys, and like, you very easily, even if you're very talented, which there's a lot of talented guys who have slipped through the cracks there that I know of already that are on the indie scene, but it doesn't guarantee you anything. You just have a contract with WWE and you're getting paid, and you might make it, you might not. You know, of course, obviously, you hope you make it, but you know, it was at least much better. It was a much better process, I think, when I came up. I much, you know, I kind of feel for the guys now with the way it is. It seems much more intimidating, and just like, it seems like there's just too much, you know what I mean? Too many guys, not enough attention on particular guys, and you know, OVW really created a lot of good talent. If you look at kind of what has been produced from all the other developmental territories, and then you compare it to OVW, I mean, I think there'd be a big, you know, there'd be a big difference.
Yeah, politics.
What?
Yeah, politics involved.
In terms of what?
The push. People who like people, don't like people. You know, there's always backstabbing in this business.
Oh yeah, well, we know that, of course. You know, that's gonna go.
But people write to me and they say, "Okay, Rick, I want to become a WWE superstar. I have my entry music, and I know what it takes." But you know damn well they don't have what it takes, because they haven't trained. They don't have a body. They think they're going to make it overnight. And they really think that they're going to just fill out an application and say, "Here you go, I'm hired." It doesn't happen like that.
No.
Not at all.
No, not at all. No, I mean, I don't even really know how it happens nowadays. I mean, I know from hearing the stories of your days, and I know what I had to go through coming up. But you know, there's no. I know that there's no glitz and glamour. You know what I mean? Like, you think it would be glitz and glamour by watching it from afar, but then you get into it, and then I'm sure, like, from your generation, same thing with mine. It was more about, you know, you're learning, but you're paying dues, and
totally,
you're just constantly learning. And then, I mean, it's a never-ending adaptation to different things. First, you're learning the wrestling. Then, if you're lucky enough to make it, you're learning how to travel. You know, alone. Just think about that. You know, the way your life changes in terms of living out of a suitcase. I mean, there's just so many. And then also just wrestling etiquette, you know what I mean? Like, you know, not everybody can even get that, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I got in trouble a few times, and luckily, you know, I was well enough to learn, at least for the most part, you know what I mean? I'm not perfect, but you know, there's a lot of guys who just can't handle that even, you know what I mean? They can't handle the etiquette, or they just don't get it, and then they alienate themselves. So I don't know. You got me on. There's so many different aspects. So many different.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because it's true. And then there's the storyline telling. There's learning how to work the audience. There's all those things that figure in, where the cameras are. I mean, for these guys out there, there's a lot more than just doing high spots. And they think, "Oh, I know all these high spots. I saw it on TV. I can do that, so I can be a wrestler."
Oh, I hate that. Yeah,
it's just not.
Yeah, you know, like Ring of Honor, for instance, they play to their fans, which is great. You know, I won't argue with that. But in terms of you know, people who base their matches on high spots and stuff like that, like, don't even get me started on that. You know what I mean? That's not working. That's not working. You know what I mean? That's a problem.
Where are you wrestling now? You're not with WWE anymore.
Everywhere else, pretty much, that you can think of. Within the last year, I've been to Israel, Nigeria, the UK, Germany. I mean, you name it. I mean, I'm having a pretty good indie run, and it's fun because it's unpoliced. So, I mean, not to say I'm running buck wild all over the world, but I mean, you know, I'm able to be my own business for real, as opposed to kind of, you know, independent contractor under WWE. And luckily, but, you know, I always give, you know, I never ever like to give off the impression that I'm so jaded or I hate WWE. I don't hate WWE at all. I'm so appreciative of the fact that I'm still able to make a living doing what I love to do from the time I had there. So, you know, that's just opened up all these opportunities.
Not everybody stays there forever anyway. You work for a company and then you move on to another company or move on independently. You do whatever works for you.
Yeah, you bounce around. You make moves, and, you know, sometimes it's the best thing for you, actually.
But they give you your name in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you are grateful for that. That's a good thing. Let's talk a little bit about your training, because people like to know. I mean, you look great. You got the big veins hanging out like garden hoses. and so...
Ketosis, man. I love the ketosis diet.
In your training, was it hard to put on size?
It was, but I mean, you know, I remember somebody told me, or I read somewhere, like, if when you're skinny, just eat. Like, don't question the calories, just consume. I already had an idea of what protein was. I knew protein was important. So I remember in like high school, I would like steal the you know, like 4 milks instead of 1. You're supposed to take 1. I'd be stuffing my bags with them. I'd try to get 2 lunches. So, I mean, I literally ate and put on 100 pounds. I got fat, you know, to be honest. It was pretty funny. But I was working out the whole time. So, you know, one day I looked at myself in the mirror and I was just like, oh my God, like, you know, our cheeks were out to here. I had like a tie around my waist. I'm like, wow, like, I think I need to go on a diet. It's about time, you know, it's about time. So then, you know, I changed everything. I still did all the training that I was doing, but I started doing the morning cardio before breakfast, and I started eating right, eating clean. And then I dropped down to like 230 pounds, but, you know, it was lean muscle, you know what I mean? So I'd made progress, and then, you know, it was just fine tuning from that point. It was like, okay, I'm at 230 lean now, shoot, like, how do we get up to, now let's try to get up to 240 and see, and then, you know, figure out what weight my frame is meant to carry, which I've kind of come accustomed to, like the 255, 265 range is where I'm kind of perfect. I'm not too small, yet not too big, and I can move athletically. Like, I'm much more fluent in the ring. I mean, you know, that 10 pounds makes all the difference in the world on an athlete.
And it changes with age, because as you mature, your body matures, the more you're able to put more size and more weight on, because you're not a young guy anymore. I'm not that you're not a young guy, but your body is able to handle it better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and people are always wanting me, like, oh, we want you to be you know, they want me to be 275 pounds or whatever, and I'm just like, you know, I'm comfortable at this weight, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see what I mean, I used to have that obsession, you know what I mean, where it's like, you know, you're never big enough, but like, I'm over that, you know what I mean? It's just like, I just want to be healthy and look good and move athletically well, you know what I mean? And be just big enough, you know what I mean?
The worst thing you can say to somebody who trains, gee, Chris, how you been? You been sick?
Oh, yeah. You know what? But, you know, how many times have we been hit with that? Like, they can't get me anymore, you know what I mean? Like, Nature Boy will get, every time he'll have, like, him and Hunter, just since... It was funny because I remember when I first broke in the business, I mean, that joke's notorious.
Yeah. When
I first broke in, a few times it really got into my head, but then, you know, now we're talking a decade in, it's just like you get it and you automatically know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're messing with me. I know you already, Nate.
Of course. They're always considered. Are you wrestling on weekends now?
You know, my schedule's kind of crazy. Like, for instance, I'm going to Vegas tomorrow to work a show over there for a promotion, FSW, and then I come back and I leave 3 days later to go to the UK and wrestle for PCW, which is a big emerging promotion actually out in England. I'm currently the champion there. So I've been going back there, back for them, back and forth pretty much. And they're actually having a PCW versus ROH show at the end of next month. So, or is it? It's November already. This month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. At the end of in a couple weeks here. So I'll go there, and then I got a couple shots in Germany, and you know, things are going real well, like, especially for December, you know, like, you know, I always called the Indies the Wild Wild West, you know, like, because, you know, it's crazy, you know what I mean? I mean, you come across some wild stuff, but, and usually the holiday season is slow, but like this December, all of a sudden, has just been like, you know, just, you know.
So you can keep as busy as you want to keep.
Pretty much, and you know, and I love to work, so I'm pretty much always leaving. I mean, I start getting the itch if I'm home for a week at a time. You know, like last month, for instance, I had 2 weeks off, so I sat around and I chilled. But you know, then I had 2 weeks on pretty much, where I went to the UK. So it's kind of an ideal schedule. You know what I mean? It's like chill for 10 days, then go to work. I mean, and out of the 10 days that I was in the UK that time, I mean, I worked 4 or 5 of the days.
You find gyms to train at?
Oh yeah. There's a gym right there in that. Like, I mean, you know, as best as I can. Some of those international trips are kind of tough, and unfortunately, I end up having to give in the McDonald's a lot. That's kind of like the downside
Oh,
of the UK. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, when you get out of these shows, it's 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's like there's nowhere else to eat out there. You know what I mean? And like you don't want to sit down and eat. You're trying to get back, so it's always McDonald's. All right, here we go
Yeah,
again.
better than nothing.
Yeah.
Are you training in Venice now?
Yeah, still training at Gold's.
How many days a week?
I was there yesterday. I did legs, and I usually about 3 days a week. You know, as long as I'm home, I get there. I do one at home because I have a gym at my complex, so it'll be like little muscle day. I kind of.
Oh, sure. How do you split your body parts as far as time? You do each muscle twice a week?
No, I tend to do like 2 on 1 off is kind of like what I try to stick to when my schedule's good enough to accommodate that.
Yeah.
But you know, and it'll be like and you know, it always varies.
Yeah.
You know how it is. You got to switch it up. But like right now, it's like chest would be the first day with medial deltoids and front deltoids. So I'll do like chest, and I'll finish with Arnold presses, which I've become really fond of.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, well, I didn't get them for the longest time. It's, you know, it's one of those exercises that you kind of have to really have to get what you're doing.
Most people don't know how to rotate.
No, they don't. They turn it into like all the way around into a press, and that's not really the point. It's kind of a lateral mixed with with a press.
It's rotating as you move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I finally got comfortable with that, so I've been doing. I'll finish the chest workout with that, and then some side raises of some sort, and then the next day back, and then I'll take a day off, and then that'll be the little day, like little muscle day. You know, traps, rear deltoids, since I missed those, bis, tris.
I like that. That's a good point.
Calves.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a little bit of calves at the end of every workout because my calves is that stubborn body part. Like I never put a lot of work into them, but you know, like now I do a little bit at the end of each workout just because it's like, all right, I'm sick of this. You know, I want to get.
Are they responding better?
I think they're starting to now actually, but it's because my thighs are great. You know what I mean? So it sucks. Like I'll wear some basketball shorts and it's like, you know, I got skinny calves, and I love basketball shorts, but nobody sees the great quads. They just see the skinny calves. It's just like, no, I got legs, man. I got legs. Start pulling them up all the way here.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna buy extra small basketball shorts.
That's everybody's problem. Is calves.
Only if small basketball shorts could go back in style like the 70s.
That's where the dolphin swimsuits works pretty well. Well, where can people find you if they want to find you on the internet? How do they locate you?
Twitter at Chris Masters 310, representing the Los Angeles, as you would know.
Yeah.
For interviews and bookings, masterpiece83@gmail.com, and
website?
Not one that I actively work on. Facebook is Real Chris Masters. I mean, there's so many different avenues of contacting. You'll find me on one of those. Masterpiece83@gmail is the most direct link.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being here.
Hey,
This has been great.
I appreciate it.
And it's really a pleasure having Chris, and we'll keep updated with what his future holds. And he's got a great future ahead of him in many, many ways. A wonderful guy, always willing to help out and be here and do stuff like this. And it's fun to have him.
Is this where we pose off?
We can pose off. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching Ric's Corner, and stay tuned for. Look at this guy. Stay tuned for more.
It's RicDrayson.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.